welcome to my channel, Haylee Marie Vintage. Today we are here for a vintage haul. So if you've been around this channel a long time, you know that I have been working on my consumption and on bringing it down. Actually, I was looking, last year I did 2 of these. This is the first one for almost a year, so that's pretty exciting. I've been just trying to buy less, and as just in general, as I sew more, I am more inclined to buy less clothes because honestly I prefer what I make to what usually I can find out there. So we're gonna go through the very special things I was actually able to find in the wild. We have 3 categories. The first we're gonna go through is things I was able to find at a thrift store. The second is things that I picked up at vintage. Some people just call it like vintage and thrifting. I consider a vintage store a curated thing where you're gonna pay a higher price for things. I consider a thrift store where people donate goods and they price them and sort them, and there's a lot of stuff to sift through. Just in case you're curious on my definitions, because some people just mush them all up, but I think they're 2 very different shopping experiences, and they also usually cost very different amounts of money. And then the last category is things that I restored. These are things that I saw either thrifting, actually I think all thrifting, and I put quite a bit of like sweat and tears into them to get them back to a wearable state. Let's start with it. We're starting, like I said, with things from thrifting. Notes about thrifting, in my opinion, you can take them or leave them. I don't think good thrifting is in cities. I think you have to go to the burbs or even rural areas for the best thrifting. All of this thrifting I did on the south side of Denver, all at ARC thrift stores. In case you're wondering where I source, I don't gatekeep. Basically, there's a ton of ARCs south of Denver. I basically go to, I think there's 4 locations, as well as I do try the Goodwill, but I think the Goodwills in that area are not as good as the ARCs. I also went around Halloween time, which is a pro tip. I wasn't in town just to thrift around Halloween, but I do think you find the best things at Halloween. First things here, we have this really cute little teal 1970s dress. This is definitely homemade by someone. It is like technically gunny sack style. I will say I don't mean it in a rude way, but it is not the most beautifully home-sewn thing I've ever seen. They didn't finish their seams, not that I'm one to judge. And then I actually had to do quite a bit of tacking on their facings because they didn't properly tack their faces down or anything like that. So yes, that was kind of my thoughts personally on this guy, but I think it's really cute. I've been wearing it layered with things. This is very much a summer dress, so to make it work for fall, since I picked it up in September, I am styling it with blouses and turtlenecks and all that good stuff. This next guy, I guess I picked up all of these at ARCs, but this is a really nice 1990s sunflower dress. She's probably a tad too big on me, but I think it's really, really cute. It's a little bit shorter than a lot of things that I've bought recently, so it's kind of fun to wear going out or all of that good stuff. It has ties that are very cute. I was excited to pick this one up. The prairie dresses, in my experience, they save all the prairie dresses in ARC for Halloween. So the time to go if you're looking for 1970s or vintage goodies is Halloween. However, this is a 1990s piece, so I found this in the normal dress section. Actually, I think I found all of these in the normal dress section, but I just noticed in general they put out their more Halloween style, aka vintage dresses around Halloween, even if they're not in that section. One of the other things I've been looking a lot for is outerwear at the thrift stores. I think thrift stores in general have pretty incredible outerwear at usually pretty good prices, so I tend to not buy from any vintage boutiques. I tend to wait till I find something thrifting, and this guy here, super cute. I get compliments constantly when I wear this jacket out. I love the little rhinestone details. I should read you guys the labels just in case you want to attempt to find anything from any of these brands online. This is from the CDC, that's really funny. The Karen Desiree company is what the tag says, and not that you'll be able to see it from that far away, but the tag does look like this. I don't like gatekeeping when it comes to clothing, so if you see something, I want you to be able to online search for it. You can find a lot of these brands usually on like Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, Vinted. This brand, I have thrifted this brand before, and it's one of my favorites. It's Simply Barbara of Colorado. I've only ever thrifted this brand in Colorado, and it always has just really fun and unique Western wear. I'm guessing this is 1980s or 90s, and I really like the silhouette, and it works really great with 1950s silhouettes that I have, as well as even like the 1940s and the 1930s silhouettes that I wear dress-wise. So I really like it because, yeah, it's just like, it's cropped. It still kind of gives me that waist definition I'm often looking for. I like I guess this is kind of a dolman sleeve, right? I just think it's really cute, and I love the details, and like I said, I get a million compliments when I wear it out, and I think it was like, I went on Saturday to shop these, so I think think the most expensive thing I bought was like $13, which I'll talk about in a second. Oh, that's a lie. This leather jacket was $15, and that was not the thing I was thinking about. This is a 100% leather jacket by chia. I'm also guessing 80s. Really cute again with the tiny little waist and then kind of the big shoulders. Looks really good again with those 1950s silhouettes. And yeah, just super cute and makes me feel great, and I wear this one a lot already. I've worn both these jackets a ton. I get more compliments on the denim, but I do get compliments on the leather as well. And then for my last thrift store find, this is a biggie. Actually, in general, I will say all of this vintage is great. People say you can't find vintage at thrift stores. I don't think that's true anymore. However, you can't walk into any thrift store and find vintage. In general, in my opinion, the Goodwills in Seattle, you're less likely to find true vintage because I think the sorters that sort for Goodwill in Seattle are savvier and they are more likely to list those finds online or mark them up so crazy high. Because again, that leather jacket is the most expensive thing from that thrifting pile and it was $15. But the most exciting thing from this thrifting pile is I was perusing the dresses and I felt my heart stop because I said, this looks like an authentic Gunny Sacks. I've picked up plenty of those like teal 1970s prairie dresses at the thrift store, which I love. This is actually my second Gunny Sacks that I've ever thrifted. The first, oh no, I thrifted 10, 11 years ago in Seattle back when there was a Value Village in Ballard. Also during Halloween, I thrifted a Gunny Sacks for $13, and I also thrifted this guy for $13. Now, the Gunny Sacks that I thrifted way back in the day had the label in and everything, so I do believe now they would identify that as a Gunny Sack in a normal thrift store and put it out. ARC, I don't think that's true. ARC in general, I don't think puts as much time and detail into sorting their items. I think they're just trying to get rid of stuff quickly as opposed to get the highest price. Goodwill and Value Village, in my opinion, are very highest price. So this Gunny Sacks actually does not have its full tag. Somebody cut out literally just the Gunny Sacks part of the tag. However, I know it's a Gunny Sacks part tag because, which I guess I could take a photo, but you'll just have to trust me. There's the tiniest bit of the Gunny Sacks border at the bottom of this tag. I think it's so weird that they left kind of like the meat of the tag. Also, I know this is a Gunny Sacks tag. I'm a collector. I think it's weird that they like literally just cut out the logo part of the tag and they left the tag intact otherwise, but I will take it because I do think there would have been more of a chance that they would have put this out for a lot more money if they knew it was a Gunny Sack. I do think somebody has made, not an alteration, but I do think this guy has gotten switched out and I actually just picked up a new tie. This is much thicker. I like a little bit more of a dainty tie, so I'm gonna actually swap that out, but I literally felt like I was stealing when I left the thrift store. Like basically I feel like my heartbeat was up. Actually, I picked it up. I didn't even know if it would fit. I tried it on and I was like, oh my God, it's my color, my style, and it fits. Screaming. And then after all of that, I went to like the register and I just feel like my heart rate was up until I literally like got it home because I was so excited. I do really firmly believe that there is still great vintage thrifting to be found out there. You just have to be patient and you also have to be strategic. But that's it for thrifting. I now am gonna walk into vintage. So these were all curated stores to varying degrees. Some I would say are in the edge of thrifting for vintage, but I would still say they are very much a more expensive vintage store. First thing is an accessory. Actually, I found this bag. I'll have to look up the name of the place in Tacoma and I'll link it down below. I recently went vintage shopping with Christina from With Love Christina in Tacoma at Vintage Row, or not Vintage Row, Antique Row, which I highly recommend checking out. And I picked this guy up at one of the shops there and I really liked it because it was big, and also most importantly for me, I can't do a handbag. I need it to fully fit really comfortably on my shoulder, and that's what this does, and I love the color and I think it's great. And then these are from Stella, Dallas. They have like a discount store next to their fancy store. I believe most of these slips were around $25 to $30. And what I believe these slips are is I think they pick up neutral colored slips and they dye them, except for this tag isn't dyed, so maybe I have to take back that theory. But I was looking for I've been looking for a slip this color for a really long time, so I was super excited to pick this guy up. I've recently been experimenting a little bit more in the sheer area with a lot of my clothing, so I've been looking more for like colorful slips that I can really have just show up and look gorgeous. This is another one I picked up from them. This one I do know is dyed. The tag is dyed. The classic like weird thing that doesn't dye when you dye things, but I loved this color. I thought it was gorgeous. And again, I was looking for those pieces. Now I would probably not pay the rate that they ask, but prior to recently, which I will talk about at the end, I've been a little bit frightened of dyeing. That was a statement. This one, again, you can tell by the tag, dyed this beautiful purple shade. So I will say anything that I know has been dyed, I only wash these with dark colors. I don't risk my lights with these. This is this really gorgeous royal purple. I loved, it has like a little kind of like bow flower thing in the front. I just thought this was great, and honestly I think it's a great concept to dye slips into a color that you really enjoy, and is one that I definitely actually took direct inspiration for what I'm talking about at the end of this video, some of that restoration work I did. For this guy here, this I picked up from the same shop actually as the purple purse. I want to say it was around $60, which I didn't feel like was egregious for a feed sack dress. I'm not sure if this is real feed sack. The only reason I think it might be is there's just some staining that reminds me of the staining you can kind of see sometimes in feed sacks. So it might actually be for real. However, strong soak wovenite and strong gold dust and cold water solution. I think this is made up then. I think this is fake. I'm taking it back. If it's telling you to wash it in a gold dust solution to get all the dye out, I don't think that's real. If you know that that's real, correct me if I am wrong. But yeah, I loved the feed me. I loved the chick. I just thought this was really cute. I thought the placement was clever, and I also thought the style was really cute. I will be looking for a pattern like this because it's a great way to show off a blouse while also wearing a dress, which, as you guys know, I love. Next up, I picked this one up. If I had to bet, it was Goldmine. Goldmine is my preferred vintage dealer in Denver, I guess. But this is this really gorgeous pink plaid dress. It's in my waist size. Yeah, this is from Goldmine. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like picturing myself trying it on for the first time, and that was definitely at Goldmine. You know, I'm a sucker for these rhinestones that are put in using these like metal guys. I actually, I guess, hint for a haul next week. I actually hauled something that allows me to do this. Next week is going to be a fabric haul. I'm kind of doing all of my what I've bought over the year hauls at the end of the year. But yes, I think this is gorgeous. I wear it a lot. It's really comfortable as well as making me feel really cute and girly. And I feel like this is enough sparkle to make me feel snazzy, but not so much sparkle that I can't wear it to work. You know, I do sometimes not wear things to work. I did not film while I was in San Francisco because I was actually there for work, but while there for work, I did find time to visit, I believe it's Haight-Ashbury where all the vintage shops are. There's a vintage shop on there that, again, I will look it up, but it's one of my favorite for specifically sourcing dirndl and dirndl shirts. So this is a kind of like Austrian blouse style shirt. It has really great embroidery, super cute, and they just had rows and rows and rows of these shirts. And I believe they're all like one price, and I want to say they're either $35 or $25. I can't remember, but again, a great place to go, especially if you love dirndls the way I love dirndls. And I think I tried on probably like 20 items there, which I always hate doing as somebody who worked dressing rooms as a retail worker. So I make sure I like hang and button everything really nicely because I feel bad about it. But also I do remember the shifts where no one tried something on and I was bored as heck. But yeah, beautiful smocking, beautiful embroidery, love. Very exciting. And then I also picked up a couple dirndls, which I am debating dyeing one. So this is the one I'm debating dyeing. If you know me, you know I don't love the color red. So my thought is putting this into like a light purple bath and just changing it a little bit more purpley. I don't have the energy for that right now, and I do like it enough as is that I haven't done that yet. I love the kind of like dirndl Western situation happening here. I like that it has like these kind of Western buttons, like Western as in like American Western, and like these kind of what feels like Western, whatever you want to call that, color blocking. I think this was super fun, and that's why I picked it up, and it also fits me really, really well. I do think they carry a decent size range too, but this is the second dirndl I picked up there, and it might be one of my favorites now in my dirndl collection. I really like, this fabric is like really nice and sturdy. I like the cut. I like the lower cut dirndl, and what I specifically love is there's a dart here, and I love a dirndl with a really intense boob dart. And actually I'm looking at this and I realized somebody has taken these boob darts in, and I actually might be wanting to let those out. But yes, I think this is really cute. I was really sad they had a ton of dirndl tops, and I tried on like 10 and I didn't exactly like the fit of any of them, so I had to pass, but I did at least find a couple dirndls that I really loved there. This is also on Haight-Ashbury. This is from Relic Vintage, which Relic Vintage is a vintage shop in San Francisco that I feel like has a pretty big reputation even nationally. I picked up this really nice, I actually don't know what era chemise. I really love it. I did have to put in the ribbon myself, and I do think this is just a polyester ribbon, and I do think I want to swap it out for a true silk ribbon at some point. We're just not there now, and this pink work. I again feel super cute in this. This is something I can layer a lot. Like I could even layer this with like the 1970s like teal dress that I showed showed you. What specifically got me is it has a really, really beautiful bow lace on the hem. If you know me, you know I'm a sucker for bow lace. And I really like this. It's super comfortable, super slouchy, and I feel a little bit like a haunted doll in it. So we love all those characteristics in a dress. And the last thing I got, I am calling vintage shopping, even though I never really know how to categorize Poshmark. Poshmark is online shopping, and they do have some really great vintage pieces, and not everybody who lists things knows exactly what they're worth. In this case, I actually think I paid a very fair price to the seller of it because I paid, I think, $65 for this guy. But this is a Sue Wong piece. If you just watched my closet clean out, I had to let go of a Sue Wong piece, and I was really sad because it was one of my little black dresses that right now I've been trying to like just go out and spend more time. I was gonna say with the general public. That's not exactly what I'm looking for, but like I'm trying to go out more. I'm trying to support specifically more of the queer bars in Seattle. So yes, I'm getting out there, and so I needed something to go out in. And it also conveniently, which you're gonna see in like the thing of me wearing it, I was also specifically looking for a black dress for my showgirl Mothman costume, and this was perfect. I also really liked it had in a built-in bra, so I didn't have to wear a bra with it. The back is super gorgeous, super low, and there's just something a little bit mothy or like buggy feeling about the fringe at the hem, so I am super pleased with honestly the results of the costume, which you're seeing here, but also just this dress. I feel really good in this dress. We went out to Sapphoine. There's a local Sapphic events program that they run, and so for Halloween, and I felt sexy, good, and comfortable enough to dance a lot in this dress. So this dress has just been a huge win overall, and I'm excited to wear it to many more things and style it in many more ways because obviously it will not be going off as Mothman all that often. We are now going into the restoration section. So I'll talk about each piece, what I did to restore it. For two of them, I remembered to film it for shorts, so I'm hoping to put some shorts out about exactly the full process. So if you're curious about that, you can go check that out. But one of them was, I knew it was gonna be too challenging for me to have the energy to film and do it, and I actually just finished it right before I filmed this video. First, we're gonna talk about, I know, another little black dress that's sequiny. How many of those do you need, Haley? I don't know, but it was $7 at the thrift store, so I decided I wanted it. I'm sure you're looking at this and you're like, wow, it looks so good. Why did it need restoration? This is a pretty common problem with black vintage clothing. It starts to turn kind of that weird purple color, and then wherever there is sweat or other stains, because it could also be like alcohol or something else like that, but wherever those are, some vintage turns like orange, and the armpits of this guy was completely orange, but I tried it on and it was just so pretty on me that I was like, I can't leave this dress to like likely not be bought and to go to a landfill. So I picked it up and I used iDye Poly. I was reading a bunch of forums and a lot of people recommended iDye Poly over RIT Poly, and I have used RIT Poly once, and I definitely, if you want a really rich deep color, recommend iDye Poly, especially if you're trying to get something back to black. This black is so much deeper than anything that I've seen RIT dye offer. I was gonna say Ritz, like the crackers or the hotel. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I think it turned out super gorgeous, and it's now all very much one shade. I stirred the pot the whole time. I'm a pretty intense dye stirrer because I hate when things end up patchy. So I stirred this in a pot for 40 minutes as part of my bicep building routine, right? But yeah, it turned out great and it looks fantastic on me. I also didn't get it done in time for Halloween because that also could have been a good showgirl moth costume, but I do prefer my other one for like going to the club. This next guy has been blood, sweat, and tears. Actually, I haven't cried yet over it, and I'm done fixing it up. So we're not gonna cry. The only thing I have left to do if I want to is there's a hole right here, and I'm not quite sure how to patch it because it's sheer. And I do have some of this fabric because I did a lot to this dress. So the first thing I did was I dyed this dress to this kind of berry color. I was hoping for more of a bright orchid, but we went a little bit berrier. This was like the light pink dusty color that I just honestly thought looked pretty terrible on me, but also I just felt like it made such a beautiful dress look dingy. When I tried it on, I could tell from feel this is a fully silk organza dress. This is all natural fibers. Also, whatever, I don't know what decade this is from. I think it could even be from the 50s. You'll have to tell me. It's either 50s or 80s, but it's stunning. Again, I picked it up at the thrift store for like $8. And so I was like, I'll take the time to restore it. So yes, I dyed it which was a whole thing. I bought RIT dye. I used the color formulation. It turned out a very different color than what I wanted, which is fine because I think it turned out really pretty. But what's confusing is, so this is the color I wanted the whole dress. So something about the silk didn't pick it up the same way whatever this is. And this I think is also a natural fiber, which I don't know what it would be. It may be a rayon or something. I don't know how to explain it, but polyester has a very distinct smell. So this was very interesting. But yeah, I got it washed. In the dyeing process, the sleeves are already shattering in the underarms because again, this is silk. So in the dyeing process, they shattered to the point that I was like, I can't figure out how to fix these. So I took off the sleeves, made it sleeveless, as you can see here. I also let it back out. This dress was actually tailored for someone just tiniest bit smaller than me. It was about an inch too small, and I saw that somebody tailored it about an inch in, so I took a gamble at the thrift store and I let it out. So that worked. The lining over the years had like fallen to the point that it was like misshapen below the dress. So what I did here, I left these to the end because less people will care about this than probably just the rest of the haul. But what I did is, well, first of all, there was a whole bunch of seam rippage after dyeing, which I'm sure was because I stirred it too roughly. Was on me. I think some of this was my fault, to be clear. But then you've seen me use this technique before, and I don't know how well you can tell. You can see this ridge here. And so I actually just pressed this 1.5 inches and then I sewed 1.5 inches to bring it up 3 inches without changing the bottom essentially. And it's great because it gives me almost even more volume because this has tulle in it. I couldn't figure out any other way to do it. And this is a very, I believe, Victorian and prior way to bring in a dress. Eventually you could let it out. I don't know why you would let this out because again, it sticks out the bottom of this dress. But yeah, I also did that, trimmed a lot of fuzzies. I sunk definitely an additional $20 into this dress. And then I definitely sunk at least 4 hours into it, but I think it's super worth it. It's gorgeous. However, I am now facing a gown problem because I feel like quite a few of these dresses in this pile are gown-like. But then for my last repair piece, I have this guy here. If you've been on this channel a really, 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 really long time, you will remember this piece. I picked it up at that dress factory in South Carolina, the one that actually Stephanie Canada sold a ton of fabric from. But this had been sitting next to another piece that like dye bled on it. I believe the person, like this was kind of in more of like her hoarder room because she was kind of a hoarder. And I've been trying for, gosh, 5 years to get that stain out. I learned a new way to take out a stain and I gave it a try. I finally gave up and I was like, actually, I would probably wear this more if it wasn't this like kind of nudie color anyway. And this, I again used dye poly and I dyed it to this gorgeous purple color. I think this looks really good on me. This is a purple color that's really hard to show you on camera or on film. This is actually quite a bit warmer than what it's showing right now, at least on my little monitor over here. So I don't know actually, truly, how this is showing up for you guys, but I promise it's gorgeous in person and I feel really good in this dress. While it is long, it is still another great going out piece because it does flatter the chest quite a bit. And yeah, and I'm really, really happy with the way the dyeing turned out. That has been kind of more experimental. I have dyed things in the past, but I don't think with like this success rate, and honestly always with friends who have more experience in dyeing. This was my first time dyeing things truly on my own. And I'm super proud of how everything turned out. I think honestly, even if the berry colored dress isn't exactly the color I want, it's still a significantly better color than it was before in my opinion. And the other two pieces I was able to basically save because I had been kind of not even sure. I was honestly gonna put the one that I just showed you, like basically I was gonna donate it, which would essentially have put it in a landfill at some point probably. So I was really, really pleased with my ability to save these 3 pieces, even though they all took a lot of work and additional money besides what I spent at the thrift store. But I think it's worth it. And like, I do think if you really love something at the thrift store and it takes a little bit of work, I actually think that's a great thing because it makes you just think a little harder about your clothing. I ended up super, super happy with these purchases and with this haul, and I hope you enjoyed seeing everything. But yes, this is basically all the clothing I bought this year. Of course, I made a lot of clothing this year, but as far as what I purchased, this is it. I don't know, I still think I could do a little bit better, but I am still proud of myself considering where I come from and how I used to honestly bring like hundreds of pieces into my wardrobe each year. So I'm doing much better on that perspective. But with that, I will be signing off. Definitely subscribe and stick around. I actually have, like I said, another haul coming next week. I will be be showing what I have picked up at all the different fabric stores I've been traveling to around the country, and I'm super, super excited to show, basically what I was able to pick up there to you guys. And of course, subscribe and stick around to see those videos, and then as always, you can help me with a thumbs up or commenting down below. It helps me in the algorithm. And with that, I will see you next week at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Bye!